Hi, guys. My name is Thaon Simms, and welcome to the Limitless Podcast. Joining us, as always, is your co host, Dr. Matthew Preston. Hail up the people, I'm Matthew.
Hey guys, what's good?
Excellent. Now, yesterday, a very special offer came out right on the JSE, right? The Jamaica Stock
Yeah,
Exchange.
surprised a lot of people.
A lot of people were shook, right? The people that weren't shook, well, y'all are insiders. But if not, then if you weren't shook, definitely one of the insiders. You guys are privy to some key things because this took everybody by storm. And so I guess Preston and I we're gonna be just talking about the offer, what we think, our thoughts, how we think it may trade, that whole industry, and just some other random things and yeah, just our thoughts. But yeah, I was definitely surprised. I remember I was driving.
You said
I was
pleasantly
actually in a
surprised?
meeting. I don't think it was pleasant or unpleasant. I feel like it was just I just didn't expect it at this time because people were predicting that the offer would come out maybe after elections or they were trying to time it with with government stuff with how they feel with like maybe a market sentiment, but the market waits for nobody. The market waits for nobody. So
The reader point about the election thing though, I thought that it would drop before election because if say the party that's in power now is JLP, JLP wants to do it, then it would happen. But then what if PNP says no? So if JLP really wants to do it, then they would do it when they're in power. Versus, what if PNP says we don't want to do it and then they change their mind? So that's why I thought it could happen before the election.
Fair.
Yeah.
Not a bad assessment indeed. I don't know. Maybe let's jump into the offer so we can talk to the people more about I guess for those who don't know, we actually did a tickers episode on TransJamaica Highway. So I don't think in this episode we're gonna explain, what they do for money and all of that. Maybe just high level things. If you guys really want an in-depth analysis, look at that episode. That was actually a really good episode, and we'll link it down in the description.
Means your price prediction get juked now though.
Price prediction, everything changed. This has changed everything because we did this episode last year before
and it talks about offer for sale.
Yeah. So let's go into the prospectus and let's see.
Yeah, and I'll try to link it. Hopefully, I remember to link it in the description so that someone can just, just read it there. But yeah, so this is the prospectus. Let me see. Can I zoom in? But yeah, so essentially, the government of Jamaica, they own the National Road Operating and Construction Company called NROC, and they own about 2.5 billion shares, and they are saying they are willing to sell up to that amount of shares. And they say the price will be $3.60, which is actually below the current market price. So it's actually at a discount. So I think the market price as that recording today is $3.90. Well, this would have been from I guess yesterday. And technically, it's funny, when at the Jamaica Stock Exchange conference, which was January the 21st, the price was $4.31.
Yeah.
So if you are someone that said, wait, usually offer for sales, if you look back at some offer for sales and on the JSE and then also on other markets, other markets, a lot of times it usually is at a discount to the market price. So you could say, hey, I could likely sell now. And then, because it could be that, okay, I sell now because it will be a discount, but then also you have to factor in what other people think. So if other people then think, wait, it's going to be at a discount, then if they would then sell, so it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy that the stock price will drop. So you could have been selling at $4.30s, $4.20s for $4, and then now buying in at $3.60. So if you wanted, or just locking in some gains and going elsewhere. So yeah, it's at a discount to the current market price.
Yeah, you could sell and buy back in and get more units. So you could have sold that
So if you're a
maybe
true
like
long-term investor, your goal, you get more units in the company.
you get way more units
Long-term
because of this
investor,
offer.
short-term investor.
I mean, there's always that risk that you don't get all the units you want in the offer.
Yeah.
If it's
But
a
I mean,
very good offer, I'm not
it
talking
would
about
depend. I think it would
TransJam.
depend on your pocket though. To like think about think about it, how most retail investors, like how many shares do they own? Most people don't have millions of dollars. So it's like,
yeah, it's probably like 10
they're
grand, 10
probably
grand.
gonna
But
get their full allocation.
no, but I'm talking about if your true goal is long term and you do have like a lot of units. Let's say you're trying to get up to maybe
What do you call
a
a lot
mil.
of units? Oh,
Maybe like a mil. Yeah, I was just estimating like a
$1
mil.
million worth
Units. We only speak in
for a
units
million
right now,
units.
bro.
So okay, like 4 mil Jamaican.
Yeah. So imagine selling at 4.5. So you'd have exited with 4.5 mil. And then you're using that 4.5 mil to buy in and this offer at 3.6. If the offer is good enough and the demand is there, I mean, suppose you don't get, there's always that risk that you don't get back all your units. So I can see why some people wouldn't have sold.
You think someone who applied with a few million wouldn't get all the units though?
One way to find out. One way
I think
to find out.
It would depend, I guess, how they do the allocation. Because they could set it up in a way where they let the smaller people get first. And then
in the pro rata basis, as in everyone getting a set allocation first, and then
there's I'm trying to remember what it's called. I think Wicton was like an example of that, where it was like, I think bottom up or something. So they let the smaller investors, like say the person who applied for 1,000 units, 10,000 units, they get their full allocation, and then it's only people who applied for larger volumes would get. So I guess it depends how they want to allocate that. Yeah,
I think it's in the prospectus still. How they would, I'm pretty sure it's in there.
I think it gives them leeway to do it the way they want, though. Like it said, they could, if it is upsized, they could. So technically, they could do it a different way. So.
But simply put, so the largest shareholder, NROC. Remember what NROC stands for? National Road Operating and Constructing Company. Yeah. So it's a government entity. So initially from the IPO, NROC was the selling shareholder in TransJamaica Highway, and they sold 80% of the company, and so the other 20% they kept. But now they're going to sell the remaining 20% stake in the company, and so that's what this offer for sale is. That 20%, which amounts to 2.5 billion shares. And that's currently worth a bit less than. I mean, the aim for them is to raise what was it? The minimum what they would want to raise is 6 million. 6 billion, sorry, JMD. I don't remember. It's in the offer, but
it's just not upsize, yeah.
And if it is upsize, it's the 9 billion. So they want about 9 billion. Government need money still. I see doctors striking because the government can't pay them. So maybe that's where that money is coming from. Who knows? They could use that money for so much, but it would seem they definitely need some money, and it makes sense, right? You as the government, you're now offloading this asset that you've built for years, the highway, and giving it back to the people. So I get it, and I like it. I don't mind it. But there was something I had to start to think about, like should those things actually happen? Like, do you think that should happen? As just like there's certain companies that the government owns, right? How do you feel about the government offloading or divesting certain assets?
I mean,
do you think that the people should have ownership of an asset like infrastructure, like that critical asset, or do you think certain things should be left held privately, held by the government?
I mean, I think there's pros and cons to either way. I mean, the government, I think, needs money, and so I think that's why they're selling the stake.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they do need the money and they can't really get it from other ways, or they don't want to impose other ways, like impose a new tax, then it makes sense that okay, this is something that we should consider. Yeah, so I think if the government really needs the money and they can't get the money any way else that makes sense, then yeah, they should. It's option. It has its own pros and cons with it, so it's not a perfect thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, people want the option too, and they think it aligns, like it's a good investment for them, then they can evaluate that.
Okay, fair. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is a large offer, right? Junior market limit is, if they're raising currently the limit is 500 mil, and it's going to increase to $700 million Jamaican.
750, I think.
750, sorry, yes, million Jamaican dollars. This now they're trying to raise 9 billion Jamaican dollars. So it is a large offer, right? It is a pretty large offer for sale. So something I was trying to think about is how does a large offer for sale like this actually impact stock market liquidity? Because now we're not necessarily seeing how liquid the market is. It's tough times. We can see it. The market is still soft, right? Last year was also a very soft year. Not many there were no offer for sales. There were IPOs, but not many, right? We can count them on one hand. The companies that listed. There were a couple raises. NCB did an APO, which was, did they get 50% of what they wanted? Was 138's own last year too, and they didn't get. So you could tell that.
No, I think that's 2023.
That's 2023, yeah. But you could tell for the past couple of years the market has been soft. So when you see,
but is it the offer themselves though? Like, was it that those are attractive businesses and stuff?
good question.
Because think
good
about
point.
it. If JPS had listed last year, you don't think the market would have grabbed that up?
Depending
It's
on what
also
they
the
came
offer.
with. Yeah,
it's JPS. It's
doesn't
JPS.
matter. Doesn't matter if JPS could come with some foolishness, it would not be gobbled up by, because remember, you need to soak up that liquidity. It's not just us as retail investors that this has to make sense for. It has to make sense for the
find the money
institution.
if it's JPS still, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, I would hope that the offer makes sense. I agree. I do hope, but the market impact of such a large offer for sale. I mean, for me, we always see, you could see the market impact of stuff like this previously, like historically, when TransJam was listing, although that was a bit skewed by COVID, but when it was listing, you could see softening of further stocks, more selling pressure, because this could divert funds from other stocks. And that can cause short-term price declines in existing JSE stocks. And we'll be able to see it today. Since the offer came out yesterday, we'll be able to see it today because we're recording like 7 a.m. in the morning. So that's one thing. Like, it could be red, it could be bloody. The market, it could be a lot of selling pressure. But on the flip side, does this size signal confidence? You think the size of this offer actually signals confidence in the market, or is it just a government cash grab? Because there are two sides of that coin. It could signal, yeah, they think they can raise this amount from the market. The market liquidity is flowing back. The economy is doing well, XYZ. So right now is the time to list. I guess we won't really know until after how it does. But it's just a question I had to start to ask myself. Is it confidence they're going for? Or is it that, the government really and truly is cash strapped? Because people are saying they're cash strapped, but I feel confident that the market can probably soak up a lot of this, especially maybe institutions. Just like Atlantic IPO. That hasn't even opened yet, but JMMB has fully underwritten that offer. So, yeah.
I was saying, I was just, while you were talking, I was looking up the market activity last year was a lot more value traded versus the year before, So 2023 was $44 billion. 2024 was about 80 billion.
Wow.
So it almost doubled in terms of trading volumes. I think the trading volumes are starting to pick up.
Nice.
So yeah. So I guess it'll be interesting to see. Like one of the things I would say though is that I was thinking in terms of, okay, you're saying something like this with a TransJam offer, and then you're trying to like say, okay, which stocks? You're basically saying like which stocks might drop. I was trying to think, okay, what makes a stock drop in relation to like an offer? I don't think it's really like institutions selling, because the amount of money they want to sell to easily pull out, it's not something that they're just going to easily sell down into the queue, because those kind of volumes that they want to sell are not just very easy to sell. So I was thinking, okay, it's more going to be like a retail investor who is like, hey,
Yeah.
and I was thinking a lot of times I think what would happen is that a retail investor will sell either when they're like up on something a lot, or maybe when they're down on something, and possibly more likely when they're up on something. So it's like, oh, if they were, say there was like an IPO that came out and it went up 200, 300% in the first month, they're like, yo, I should just sell some of this and then buy into this if they found this attractive. So it's not like
fair.
versus some of the stocks, as you said, are like at all-time lows, and so and it's not like have many stocks risen very rapidly in like the last few weeks or months or so. So I'm not sure if you're gonna have that huge sell-off, especially post this, but I guess we'll see. I would have thought more. I remember we spoke about West Indies Petroleum Energy. That IPO was like in talks, and I thought, okay, that IPO could come out. My guess was, oh, if that IPO dropped or that prospectus dropped, and then there was talks about the TransJam offer for sale, people are up 100, 200% on TransJam. I was expecting TransJam to possibly sell down, and then people possibly, if the West Indies Petroleum offer was attractive, then they'd funnel money into that. So I was thinking that stocks that could drop would be more stocks that have gone up significantly in the last few months or weeks or so, and have a lot of like retail investors in it. Yeah,
You know
I
what
don't
would
know
have
what you
made this
think.
offer so like way more attractive too? If they were considering a dividend. Like I feel like a lot of people that are buying into TransJam is because, and it's that whole industry of infrastructure as an investment class, like that level of predictability of cash flows. There's a thing they call it in econ, inelastic demand, where basically there's not much like that. You can predict the demand, and as you know, once there's an increase in certain prices, people still use it. So like the toll roads, right? Even if you raise toll prices, it's not like people are going to be like, toll is a bit too expensive. If you raise it like 5%, people are still gonna use the toll road, right? If that's their daily commute, if you're going from Mandeville to Kingston daily, you're not gonna drive the long route. The 5% more than likely is going to let you continue on the toll road. So there is that level of predictability of cash flow from the business side, right? And then that will also tie into dividend payments, and they have been paying strong dividends. So I think a lot of TransJamaica Highway shareholders, they love dividends. They love that steady cash flow. And to be able to get more shares at a lower price to increase their yield, worse, the prospectus actually said the yield would increase. Well, the yield, one way of increasing the yield is clearly dropping the price, but another way is just paying more dividend, like nominal dividend figure per share. So it's possible that this could look attractive. And if I were doing this offer, I'd put the offer out, and then maybe a day before the opening of the offer, I'd say, the board is considering a dividend. Just kind of stir up the market a little bit.
Well, last year
I
they met. They met March. Well, they put out the consideration notice March 1st.
Look at that.
And today is February 26th. March 1st is Saturday. So you're thinking what they dropped the board, the notice that the board is going to meet. And do you think that so you're thinking that they would set it up that you would buy into the offer and you'd get your shares, and then you'd also get the first dividend this year, which you're predicting will likely be higher than last year.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think it's quite possible.
I guess it depends, like because when you buy into the offer, like how immediately are the shares going to be allotted and
True. Because the government could still technically own the shares at the time and use the dividend announcement as a way to kind of bolster demand. And so they'd get both the money from selling the shares and the dividend that they would have collected before the shares have been sold. It's possible. Hey, finance is a craft. So
and technically,
it depends.
If say the only way you can get this dividend that you're saying may be larger than last year is through buying on the market,
Yeah.
then that means there would be incentive to buy on the market if someone wanted the dividend. And then that could mean that more people may want to buy on the market. And so maybe that would help to stop the price from dropping as much.
True.
So it would kind of hold up the price. So it's like, okay, because if say the market price was like 370 and then the offer price is 360, it's more of saying, oh, it's a discount versus the market price being 360 and then the offer price being 360. So you're trying to say if it would be a way of, showing that, maintaining that discount so that the offer is more attractive to some people.
It's possible too. But if people knew too much about that and how that worked and so on, would they really partake in the offer? So it's as I said, such a balancing act. It's really such a balancing act. Yeah, we should probably do an episode on something like that. Like if we were to manage a fund of a certain size or something like that, like how would we do it? Because there's so many ways to be able to do it. Like even just listing companies is an art, right? So I guess we'll see. But I do think the people that would tying back to my initial point, the people that are investing for this dividend holders, and dividend holders usually have a lot of cash and a lot of money. So I think this is a good offer for them to just get more. I think for the cap gains people though, it's a bit different. I think of this as this could be almost, and I'm gonna say like an APO, but it's clearly not an APO, right? In terms of there are no additional shares being created and offered to the market or so on. However, the effect is similar in the sense that this is now a lot of supply hitting the market. 20% is a big amount, right? So it may be a bit, unless institutional investors, unless big banks come in, pension funds are taking a huge chunk, and we could see how much is reserved for those strategic investors. There's about 700 million shares, so that would leave about 1 billion shares to the general public. Is it that? This is the amount. I'm not really talking shares here, but that's the I guess the dollar figure. So 40% of the offer, 40% of 1.7. Yeah, that's about 700 mil shares. So a billion shares is left for the general public. That's a lot of liquidity to soak up. That's needed to soak up those shares. So yeah. But I don't know. It all comes down to, are they doing more marketing around this? Is it that they're just gonna leave the offer out and there's nothing else? Or are they gonna, put some marketing spend? Is NROC going to the government or NCB? Are they gonna come on the Limitless podcast and talk about the offer? Those are the questions I have for them. So
I know Kalila is gonna do on taking stock next week. She's gonna do some feature, so maybe someone from NCB or TransJam or whatever will, I guess NROC will come on and talk about it.
Yeah. Truly.
one of the things I wanted to share. So if you're a researcher, let me go show my screen. So notice this is the offer for sale. This offer for sale came out February 25th, right? In the offer for sale, they tell you how much they're willing to sell 6.3 billion shares to 9 billion shares. Or sorry, value. So they're willing to sell between 6.3 to $9 billion, right? There's an Observer article which was referenced from the JSE conference. The article came out January 24th. Once again, this is now February. The offer came out February 25th. So 1 month after the conference. In the if you could have watched the live stream, right? And the CEO of NCB Capital Markets, who is the lead broker for this offer, as per this prospectus, you can see it there, is NCB Capital Markets and JMMB. Angus Young, he's the CEO of NCB Capital Markets. He said, and this is quoted, I think that we can share today, I think that we can share today.
I think what we can share today is that the government
of Jamaica is intent on divesting their full 20%, which sits under NROC at this time. TGH is a publicly traded share, so I think it's a simple calculation. It may run you about 9 billion, give or take. So you notice that you could have said, wait, 9 billion?
Yeah.
At the, the amount of shares, which is like 2.5 billion.
2.5 billion.
Yeah.
And you could have gotten the
$3.60. And so this, once again, this was January 24th. And if you look at, this was when the article came out. The conference was actually before.
Yeah.
You could have sold at $4.30, $4.20 and bought back in. So I think that's an example of, people don't understand that, just reading or just watching and having information can, you can be ahead of a lot of people just by reading or maybe even going to the conference. Somebody, you could have been at the conference and heard him say that and be like, wait, like, what time was the conference? The market closes at 2:00. He could have said that at 10 a.m. and you could have go on your phone and press sell.
Agreed.
And you could sell at $4.30 and then allow you to get more units as a long-term investor. So yeah, I just thought that was just a reminder about the importance of like research and reading.
Yeah, you could have gone up to Uncle Andrew and be like, what's the price, bro? What's the price? Or you could have just not been a dunce and figured this out, like Preston. Or you could have just been like me and just guesstimated, okay, it's definitely going to be at a discount to market price. So maybe we should sell. Because there's no way it would have come out above market price. No one's going to buy into an offer like that. And we've seen APOs that have come out above market price or very close to market price. And we've seen how those have done. So, yeah. And I only say APO because you can kind of compare an offer for sale like this to an APO simply, as I said, because of supply and the fact that it's already listed. So it's a secondary offer, yes. And it's just not dilutive. So it's a secondary offer, yes, but it's just a large shareholder exiting. So of course it would have to come at some level of discount in order to bolster demand. And at that point, you're just like, this stock will drop. No matter what, this stock will drop. So yeah. Interesting to see how it will trade today.
Well, if you look at the queue,
I think he'll trade below 360,
You look at the buy queue, there are a lot of orders before the market opens above 360, like $12 million worth. I suspect that a lot of these orders will be pulled. Especially like even look at this big order here, 1.5 million units at 371. I don't think they want to buy at 371 again. So I don't think there'll be a lot of buy orders. And then if you look at it, even just the the sell queue is a lot stronger than the buy queue right now. The sell queue, $144 million worth. Buy queue is basically just under $30 million worth. So I expect it to. What price does it halt at? 330.
Yeah, I don't expect it to go that far at all. It wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense to sell that low. But
well, I wouldn't say
there's
that.
always there's always the fear.
No, I was even just saying. You remember that even to hit that price, only one unit has to trade.
Agreed.
So you could just one unit could trade at that price. So if the buy queue, as I said, the buy queue is emptied, all these people at like 360s pull it. Even maybe the 350s pull it because they're like, yo, someone who just has maybe a few units that just want to sell, it could sell 1,000 units and then sell it into the 330. It halts down. People panic.
True. Yeah, I think that's so. Even selling below 360 is, in my opinion, that is a lot of panic. Like, and then it will dip further because you see it even falling even further. That's it's funny how the psychology plays into price, because I do see it going below 360. Don't get me wrong, but I see it because people are panicking that the price is falling and I need to get out. Yeah.
Think about it. Yeah. You could sell. What if you could sell most of your units at 370? Like say 90% of your units, 95% of your units are sold at 370, and only 5% are sold at 360 or 350.
Yeah.
So your average sale is still above that. So you might just say, hey, I could just sell that.
You could, and then buy back in when it falls even further, if it falls even further.
Or just not buy back in. Yeah, up to you.
I mean, I think I'll probably trade this, to be honest. I think I'll definitely probably trade this. My entry, well, should I say it on the podcast? Maybe I could. It all depends on how it trades, and hey, we never know what's gonna happen, and don't take our advice. This is never financial advice on this podcast, right? Speak to your licensed financial advisor if you want investing advice. But what I gotta do personally, I'm gonna watch this, and I'm gonna say, all right, if it falls below 360, at any point below 360, I am actively watching. I'm looking to buy. If I can see where that dip would, and I'm thinking maybe about anywhere below 350s, maybe about 340s, is where I'd probably enter, because I think that would only happen in the short term. There will be a bounce, and then it may trade around, give or take, around 360. That's without intervention from other brokers to keep the price up and so on. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Only one way to find out how things will go, and we just have to watch it. But I haven't seen an offer for sale this large on the market. I don't think there has ever been an offer for sale this large. So it's gonna be interesting how this one goes. But yeah. So you say you're buying in the offer, Preston?
Nah.
Not your cup of tea. Would you trade this?
No, I don't have the time.
Yeah. But for those who do have the time, there's money definitely to be made in all of this. Yeah, those are my thoughts on this. I mean, it's a very simple offer, to be honest. And as I said, guys, if you want to look at the entire episode that we did on TransJamaica Highway, we'll link it in the description for sure. Hope you find a lot of insights there. But another one to watch, isn't it? Thank you guys so much. Hey, if you love this episode, please do a massive favor and subscribe. Right? If you just like it, like it, but share it to somebody. Send a friend who is thinking, another big offer. Right? We have to figure out how we're gonna do this. Let them listen to our podcast and let them talk to a licensed financial advisor and get proper advice. But that's it from us. Hope you guys loved it. Have a blessed day. Limitless out.
Peace.